Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Titi Namine Saraswati Devi Gaudavani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Ashtatya Deshatarine
Namaste Saraswati Devi Gaudavani Pracharine Nirvishesha
Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasari Gaur Bhaktavinda
Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasari Gaur Bhaktavinda
Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasari Gaur Bhaktavinda
Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasari Gaur Bhaktavinda
Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasari Gaur Bhaktavinda
Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare,
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare Prabhupada ki Jai Gaur Pranade. I can't tell if it's too much water or not enough on this thing. It sounds weird. Hi Krishna. Welcome everybody online. Bhakti C is here. We have Bhakti A, Bhakti C, and Baba Sararuham. Hare Krishna. So sorry for the time change today, but I've been asked to go to Pittsburgh Kirtan Center to help play Mridanga. So I had to do a little earlier. Haribol Aruna Lochana Prabhu. Thank you for tuning in. We just finished Kirtan actually, and we're just diving in now to Canto 1, Chapter 19, Text 12. 1:19:12. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 Narayanam Namaskritya Narang Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudirayat Srinvatam Swakata Krishna Punya Shravana Kirtana Hridyantasto Yabhadrani Vidhunoti Suhrit Satam Nashtaprayashvabhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavat Yuttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtiki. We might bring back the Srimad Bhagavatam Mahima Stotram prayers recited before Bhagavatam. Yeah, it just, as time passes, you know, devotees, like, I don't want to overdo them. You know, sometimes I'm saying prayers and prayers, and sometimes devotees are like, this is too much prayers. One time I got chastised for praying too much before Bhagavatam class. I just did the full Mangala Charana and the Srimad Bhagavatam Mahima Stotram prayers. Somebody complained. They're like, you used to pray for like 20 minutes before class. It wasn't that long, but anyway, I don't want to disturb the devotees. Anyway, Hare Krishna. We're on 1:19:12. Okay. Sukha pavistesh vatateshu bhuya krita pranama swachakir shatam yat vigyapayamasa vivikta cheta upastito gre vigrita pani. After all the rishis and others had seated themselves comfortably, the king, humbly standing before them with folded hands, told them of his decision to fast until death. Purport. Although the king had already decided to fast until death on the bank of the Ganges, he humbly expressed his decision to elicit the opinions of the great authorities present there. Any decision, however important, should be confirmed by some authority. That makes the matter perfect. This means that the monarchs who ruled the earth in those days were not irresponsible dictators. They scrupulously followed the authoritative decisions of the saints and sages in terms of Vedic injunction. Maharaj Parikshit, as a perfect king, followed the principles by consulting the authorities, even up to the last days of his life. Rajovacha Ovayam Danyatamadrapanam Mahattamanu Grahaniya Shilaha Agyam Kulam Brahmana Parasocha Duravishishtam Bhatagarya Karma. The fortunate king said, indeed, we are the most grateful of all the kings who are trained to get favors from the great souls. Generally, you, sages, consider royalty as refuse to be rejected and left in a distant place. Purport. According to religious principles, stool, urine, wash water, and so on must be left at a long distance. Attached bathrooms, urinals, and so on may be very convenient amenities of modern civilization, but they are ordered to be situated at a distance from residential quarters. That very example is cited herein in relation to the kingly order for those who are progressively marching back to Godhead. Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said that to be in intimate touch with dollars and cents men, or the kingly order, is worse than suicide for one who desires to go back to Godhead. In other words, the Transcendentalists do not generally associate with men who are too enamored by the external beauty of God's creation. By advanced knowledge in spiritual realization, the Transcendentalist knows that this beautiful material world is nothing but a shadowy reflection of the reality, the kingdom of God. They are not therefore they are not therefore very much captivated by royal opulence or anything like that. But in the case of Maharaj Parikshit, the situation was different. Apparently the king was condemned to death by an inexperienced Brahmin boy, but factually he was called by the Lord to return to him. Other transcendentalists, the great sages and mystics who assembled together because of Maharaj Parikshit's fasting unto death, were quite anxious to see him, for he was going back to Godhead. Maharaj Parikshit also could understand that the great sages who assembled there were all kind to his forefathers, the Pandavas, because of their devotional service to the Lord. He therefore felt grateful to the sages for being present there at the last stage of his life. And he felt that it was all due to the greatness of his late forefathers or grandfathers. He felt proud, therefore, that he happened to be the descendant of such great devotees. Such pride for the devotees of the Lord is certainly not equal to the puffed-up sense of vanity for material prosperity. The first is reality, whereas the other is false and vain. Tasyaiva meghasya paravaresho vyasakta chittasya griheshva bhikshnam nirvedamulo dvijasaparupo yatra prasakto bhayamasudate. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, the controller of both the transcendental and mundane worlds, has graciously overtaken me in the form of a Brahmana's curse. Due to my being too much attached to family life, the Lord, in order to save me, has appeared before me in such a way that only out of fear I will detach myself from the world. Purport. Maharaj Parikshit, although born in a family of great devotees, the Pandavas, and although securely trained in transcendental attachment for the association of the Lord, still found the allurement of mundane family life so strong that he had to be detached by a plan of the Lord. Such direct action is taken by the Lord in the case of a special devotee. Maharaj Parikshit could understand this by the presence of the topmost transcendentalists in the universe. The Lord resides with his devotees, and therefore the presence of the great saints indicated the presence of the Lord. The king therefore welcomed the presence of the great rishis as a mark of favor of the Supreme Lord. Excuse me. One second, let me check this thing. Okay, we're good. Text 15. Dhammo payatam pratiyantu vipra gangacha devi dhrita chittamishe vijopa shrishta guhakastakshakava tasatvalam gayata vishnugataha. O Brahmanas, just accept me as a completely surrendered soul, and let Mother Ganges, the representative of the Lord, also accept me in that way. For I have already taken the lotus feet of the Lord into my heart. Let the snake bird, or whatever magical thing the Brahmana created, bite me at once. I only desire that you all continue singing the deeds of Lord Vishnu. Purport. As soon as one is given up completely unto the lotus feet of the Supreme Lord, he is not at all afraid of death. The atmosphere created by the presence of great devotees of the Lord on the bank of the Ganges and Maharaj Parikshit's complete acceptance of the Lord's lotus feet were sufficient guarantee to the king for going back to Godhead. He thus became absolutely free from all fear of death. That's awesome. Punascha bhuyad bhagavat yanante rati prasangascha tarashrayeshu Ahatsu yam yam upayami shrishtim maitriyastu sarvatra namo dvijebhyaha. Again, offering obeisances unto all you brahmanas, I pray that if I should again take my birth in the material world, I will have complete attachment to the unlimited Lord Krishna, association with his devotees, and friendly relations with all living beings. Purport. That a devotee of the Lord is the only perfect living being is explained herein by Maharaj Parikshit. A devotee of the Lord is no one's enemy, although there may be many enemies of a devotee. A devotee of the Lord does not like to associate with non-devotees, although he has no enmity with them. He desires association with the devotees of the Lord. This is perfectly natural because birds of the same feather mix together. And the most important function of a devotee is to have complete attachment for Lord Sri Krishna, the Father of all living beings. As a good son of the Father behaves in a friendly way with all his other brothers, so also the devotee of the Lord, being a good son of the Supreme Father, Lord Krishna, sees all other living beings in relation with the Supreme Father. He tries to bring back the upstart sons of the Father to a saner stage and to get them to accept the Supreme Fatherhood of God. Maharaj Parikshit was certainly going back to Godhead, but even if he were not to go back, he prayed for a pattern of life which is the most perfect way in the material world. A pure devotee does not desire the company of a personality as great as Brahma, but he prefers the association of a petty living being, provided he is a devotee of the Lord. A petty living being. Iti sma raja vasaya yukta prachina muleshu kusheshu dira vadanmukha dakshina kula aste samudra padnyasva sutanyasta bara. It's amazing to remember, like every day we had the really strong devotees chanting the verses, echoing throughout the ashram, reading. How nice that was. It was like so on point too, because we did it every single day. It was like, it would resound. Oh man, that was nectar. Translation. In perfect self-control, Maharaj Parikshit sat down on a seat of straw with straw roots facing the east, placed on the southern bank of the Ganges, and he himself faced the north. Just previously, he had given charge of his kingdom over to his son. Purport. The river Ganges is celebrated as the wife of the sea. The seed of Kusha straw is considered to be sanctified if the straw is taken out of the earth complete with root, and if the root is pointed toward the east, it is considered to be auspicious. Facing the north is still more favorable for attaining spiritual success. Maharaj Parikshit handed over the charge of administration to his son before leaving home. He was thus fully equipped for all favorable conditions. Evam chatasmin naradeva deve prayo pravishte divideva sangha Vashasya bhuma vyakiran parsunar muramurdam dvayasya nedu. Thus the king, Maharaj Parikshit, sat to fast until death. All the demigods of the higher planets praised the king's actions and in pleasure continually scattered flowers over the earth and beat celestial drums. Purport. Even up to the time of Maharaj Parikshit, there were interplanetary communications, and the news of Maharaj Parikshit's fasting unto death to attain salvation reached the higher planets in the sky where the intelligent demigods live. The demigods are more luxurious than human beings, but all of them are obedient to the orders of the Supreme Lord. There is no one in the heavenly planets who is an atheist or non-believer. Thus, any devotee of the Lord on the surface of the earth is always praised by them. And in the case of Maharaj Parikshit, they were greatly delighted and thus gave tokens of honor by scattering flowers over the earth and by beating celestial drums. A demigod takes pleasure in seeing someone go back to Godhead. He is always pleased with a devotee of the Lord, so much so that by his adidaivic powers he may help the devotees in all respects. And by their actions the Lord is pleased with them. There is an invisible chain of complete cooperation between the Lord, the demigods, and the devotee of the Lord on earth. The devas and the devis. Arshaya vai samupagataye prashasya savityanumodamana Uchu prajangnu graha shila saraya rutamashloka gunabhirupam. All the great sages who were assembled there also praised the decision of Maharaj Parikshit, and they expressed their approval by saying, very good, very good, very good. Naturally, the sages are inclined to do good to common men, for they have all the qualitative powers of the Supreme Lord. Therefore, they were very much pleased to see Maharaj Parikshit, a devotee of the Lord, and they spoke as follows. Purport. The natural beauty of a living being is enhanced by his rising up to the platform of devotional service. Maharaj Parikshit was absorbed in attachment for Lord Krishna. Seeing this, the great sages assembled were very pleased, and they expressed their approval by saying, very good. Such sages are naturally inclined to do good to the common man, and when they see a personality like Maharaj Parikshit advance in devotional service, their pleasure knows no bounds, and they offer all blessings in their power. The devotional service of the Lord is so auspicious that all demigods and sages, up to the Lord himself, became pleased with the devotee, and therefore the devotee finds everything auspicious. All inauspicious matters are removed from the path of a progressive devotee. Meeting all the great sages at the time of death was certainly auspicious for Maharaj Parikshit, and thus he was blessed by the so-called curse of a Brahmana's boy. Vaidam Raj Shivarya Chitram Bhavatsu Krishnam Samanuvrateshu Yidyasanam Raja Kirita Justam Sadyo Jahur Bhagavat Parspakamaha. The sages said, O chief of all the saintly kings of the Pandu dynasty, who are strictly in the line of Lord Sri Krishna, it is not at all astonishing that you give up your throne, which is decorated with the helmets of many kings, to achieve eternal association with the personality of Godhead. Purport. Foolish politicians who hold political administrative posts think that the temporary posts they occupy are the highest material gain of life, and therefore they stick to those posts even up to the last moment of life, without knowing that achievement of liberation as one of the associates of the Lord in his eternal abode is the highest gain of life. The human life is meant for achieving this end. The Lord has assured us in the Bhagavad Gita many times that going back to Godhead, his eternal abode, is the highest achievement. Prahlad Maharaj, while praying to Lord Nrsimha, said, O my Lord, I am very much afraid of the materialistic way of life, and I am not in the least afraid of your present ghastly, ferocious feature as Nrsimhadev. This materialistic way of life is something like a grinding stone, and we are being crushed by it. We have fallen into this horrible whirlpool of the tossing waves of life, and thus, my Lord, I pray at your lotus feet to call me back to your eternal abode as one of your servitors. This is the summit liberation of this materialistic way of life. I have very bitter experience of the materialistic way of life. In whichever species of life I have taken birth, compelled by the force of my own activities, I have very painfully experienced two things, namely, separation from my beloved and meeting with what is not wanted. And to counteract them, the remedies which I undertook were more dangerous than the disease itself. So I drift from one point to another, birth after birth, and I pray to you, therefore, to give me a shelter at your lotus feet. The Pandava kings, who are more than many saints of the world, knew the bitter results of the materialistic way of life. They were never captivated by the glare of the imperial throne they occupied, and they sought always the opportunity of being called by the Lord to associate with him eternally. Maharaj Parikshit was the worthy grandson of Maharaj Yudhisthira. Maharaj Yudhisthira gave up the imperial throne to his grandson, and similarly Maharaj Parikshit, the grandson of Maharaj Yudhisthira, gave up the imperial throne to his son, Janamejaya. That is the way of all the kings in the dynasty, because they are all strictly in the line of Lord Krishna. Thus, the devotees of the Lord are never enchanted by the glare of materialistic life, and they live impartially, unattached to the objects of the false, illusory, materialistic way of life. Do you have to leave exactly at 4? You should.
Yeah.
Maybe we can have some little discussion points if anybody has one before you have to go. I will say, I mean, I can share because in that purport, Prahlad Maharaj is praying. I remember in another purport somewhere in the Bhagavatam. Actually, these two things that Prahlad Maharaj just mentioned, I believe Prabhupada says in a purport that there's two things that every soul in the material world must encounter. And it's separation from one's beloved and meeting with what is not wanted. I think in another place he puts it encountering the undesirable or something like that. So basically it's like a feature of the material world, and everybody that lives here is experiencing that. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah. It's like a guarantee, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's like part of the contract.
Yeah. Yeah. There's a whole article written by somebody's name start with a P. I can't remember. Prabodhananda Saraswati, maybe, about the 5 arrows of Cupid. You can find it on ISKCON Desire Tree.
What is it? 5?
Arrows of Cupid.
Yeah. I don't know them, but I know what
They're
you're
made
talking
of,
about.
the first one I know is White Lotus, Aravinda. And anyway, I might be able to remember, but I might not be able to remember all of them. But I did a whole, I studied it and did a whole class on it a couple years ago. It's actually on YouTube still in LA. It was a goodie. It's fun. But anyway, I remember in those 5 arrows, it's like attraction, and then like excessive attachment, and then something like problems start, and then the heat gets turned up, and then in the end it's like everything's finished, and it breaks each one down really nicely. But one of the causes or effects of a materialistic love affair that is affected by these arrows of Cupid, whenever it starts getting to the heat getting turned up and problems start happening, and it gets really, really intense. And one of the things I remember was alcoholism was one effect of the afflicted heart from materialistic love affairs, like directly listed. And then I like was meditating on that and then observing like out in the world, there's a lot of like I'll just say like blue collar workers because it's kind of the area we're in. A lot of these guys, they just go and work, and they've been separated probably multiple times. Sometimes they have children with more than one woman and are separated from all of them and are paying child support. And a lot of guys are like working and just like they're just like a lot of people are just drinking, and basically it's I mean there can be different causes for it, but a lot of times it's the affliction on the heart because of materialistic love affairs. Because of the pain that comes from the becoming too attached in the wrong way, and becoming basically a victim to the arrows of Cupid. So it's like very prominent, and also like just hearing this, like everybody in the material world is forced to experience separation from their beloved, and everybody is forced to experience exactly what they don't want at some point. It's amazing. Is it not true? It's definitely been my experience. Some people might have some karmic arrangement where they could just enjoy their whole life, but
And then the time of death comes and it just hits them like a...
yeah, it's not going to be so desirable when they die, though, if they're attached.
Yeah.
Most of the time, in the material world at least. Our nature is to be attached,
We read about in the heavenly planets, like the descent from the heavenly planets is such a brutal, excruciating experience, right? Like they're like forcefully just like ejected, and there's a few different descriptions. One is the rain, and then they, turn into grass, and animals eat them, and they turn into semen, and they go into You know, it's like, but I just remember reading once like that they're forcefully just like ejected, you know, ripped away from all their attachments, like in a abrupt way.
Mm.
Can you imagine?
Yeah, I remember whenever the details of birth is described in the third canto, it talks about getting forcefully pushed through that little tiny
Yeah, it's
thing.
like so traumatic. They forget everything.
Yeah, it's so intense. Yeah, not appealing. Huh.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's nice to hear though, like these sections that we're hearing today. The distinction between, what is transcendental and what is material is so clear, and sometimes it just wakes you up in a different way just to hear like it's just like, yeah, these material attachments are abominable, and just so like kind of strong, but it's like, yeah, it's like just put into perspective so nicely. Should we read another one?
Yeah.
21. Sarve vayam tavarihasmaheta kalevaram yavaraso vihaya lokam param virajaskam vishokam yasyayam bhagavataranaha. We shall all wait here until the foremost devotee of the Lord, Maharaj Parikshit, returns to the supreme planet, which is completely free from all mundane contamination and all kinds of lamentation. Purport. Beyond the limitation of the material creation, which is compared to the cloud in the sky, there is the Paravyoma, or the spiritual sky, full of planets called Vaikunthas. Such Vaikuntha planets are also differently known as the Purushottama Loka, Achyuta Loka, Trivikrama Loka, Rishikesha Loka, Keshava Loka, Aniruddha Loka, Madhava Loka, Pradyumna Loka, Sankarsana Loka, Sridhara Loka, Vasudeva Loka, Ayodhya Loka, Dwarka Loka, and many other millions of spiritual lokas wherein the personality of Godhead predominates. All the living entities there are liberated souls with spiritual bodies as good as that of the Lord. There is no material contamination. Everything there is spiritual, and therefore there is nothing objectively lamentable. They are full of transcendental bliss and are without birth, death, old age, and disease. And amongst all the above-mentioned Vaikuntha Lokas, there is one supreme loka called Goloka Vrindavan, which is the abode of the Lord Sri Krishna and his specific associates. Maharaj Parikshit was destined to achieve this particular loka, and the great rishis assembled there could foresee this. All of them consulted among themselves about the great departure of the great king, and they wanted to see him up to the last moment because they would no more be able to see such a great devotee of the Lord. When a great devotee of the Lord passes away, there is nothing to be lamented because the devotee is destined to enter into the kingdom of God. But the sorry plight is that such great devotees leave our sight, and therefore there is every reason to be sorry. As the Lord is rarely to be seen by our present eye, so also are the great devotees. The great rishis, therefore, correctly decided to remain on the spot till the last moment. Ashrutyatad Rishigana Vacha Parikshit Samam Maruchud Guru Chavyalikam Abhashataina Nabinyanya Yuktan Sushrusamanas Charitani Vishnu. All that was spoken by the great sages was very sweet to hear, full of meaning, and appropriately presented as perfectly true. So, after hearing them, Maharaj Parikshit, desiring to hear of the activities of Lord Sri Krishna, the personality of Godhead, congratulated the great sages.
Very good.
Samagata sarvata eva sarve virayata murtidarastri prishte yatanamudra cha kaschanarta rate paranugrahamatmashilam. The king said, O great sages, you have all very kindly assembled here, having come from all parts of the universe. You are all as good as supreme knowledge personified, who resides in the planet above the three worlds, Satyaloka. Consequently, you are naturally inclined to do good to others, but for this you have no interest, either in this life or in the next. Purport. 6 kinds of opulences, namely wealth, strength, fame, beauty, knowledge, and renunciation, are all originally the different attributes pertaining to the absolute personality of Godhead. The living beings, who are part and parcel entities of the Supreme Being, have all these attributes partially, up to the full strength of 78%. In the material world, these attributes, up to 78% of the Lord's attributes, are covered by the material energy, as the sun is covered by a cloud. The covered strength of the sun is very dim compared to the original glare, and similarly the original color of the living beings with such attributes becomes almost extinct. There are 3 planetary systems, namely the lower worlds, the intermediate worlds, and the upper worlds. The human beings on Earth are situated at the beginning of the intermediate worlds, but living beings like Brahma and his contemporaries live in the upper worlds, of which the topmost is Satyaloka. In Satyaloka, the inhabitants are fully cognizant of Vedic wisdom, and thus the mystic cloud of material energy is cleared. Therefore they are known as the Vedas personified. Such persons, being fully aware of knowledge both mundane and transcendental, have no interest in either the mundane or transcendental worlds. They are practically desireless devotees. In the mundane world they have nothing to achieve, and in the transcendental world they are full in themselves. Then why do they come to the mundane world? They descend to different planets as messiahs by the order of the Lord to deliver the fallen souls. On the earth they come down and do good to the people of the world in different circumstances under different climatic influences. They have nothing to do in this world save and except reclaim the fallen souls rotting in material existence, deluded by material energy. Rataschava prichyam imam vipriche vishrabhya vibraiti krityatayam saratmanam riyamanaischa krityam chudam chatadram shatabhiyuktaha. O trustworthy Brahmanas, I now ask you about my immediate duty. Please, after proper deliberation, tell me of the unalloyed duty of everyone in all circumstances, and specifically of those who are just about to die. Purport. In this verse, the king has placed 2 questions before the learned sages. The first question is, what is the duty of everyone in all circumstances? And the second question is, what is the specific duty of one who is to die very shortly? Out of the 2, the question relating to the dying man is most important because everyone is a dying man, either very shortly or after 100 years. The duration of life is immaterial, but the duty of a dying man is very important. Maharaj Parikshit placed these 2 questions before Shukadeva Goswami also on his arrival, and practically the whole of the Srimad Bhagavatam, beginning from the 2nd canto up to the last, the 12th canto, deals with these 2 questions. The conclusion arrived at thereof is that devotional service of the Lord Sri Krishna, as it is confirmed by the Lord himself in the last phases of the Bhagavad Gita, is the last word in relation to everyone's permanent duty in life. Maharaj Parikshit was already aware of this fact, but he wanted the great sages assembled there to unanimously give their verdict on this conviction so that he might be able to go on with his confirmed duty without controversy. He has especially mentioned the word Shuddha, or perfectly correct. For transcendental realization or self-realization, many processes are recommended by various classes of philosophers. Some of them are first-class methods, and some of them are second- or third-class methods. The first-class method demands that one give up all other methods and surrender under the lotus feet of the Lord, and thus be saved from all sins and their reactions. Any discussion points? Because we kind of started late, but I don't want to go too late because I have to go to Pittsburgh to serve the devotees, hopefully, there. So I guess we'll have to end the reading section there. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. But we can still have any discussion at points if anybody has.
But thank you very much.
Thank you. It's very nice.
Right, and thank you. Thanks for having me over.
Yeah. Do it again soon.
Yeah.
And Maybe I'll see you around.
Yeah.
Yeah, let me know what.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you. Yeah. He invited me over and had lunch at his place. And I just went to sit there and get served like a buffoon. Krishna. So, okay. Yeah, I don't have any other specific points. Just happy to hear. And, you know, especially that last purport. You know, it's just hearing about surrendering. Surrendering to Krishna. You know, it doesn't have to be even difficult, really. It's just a matter of just, you know, accepting, you know, what is Krishna's plan for us, and just going with his plan. But we do need guidance and good association to help us distinguish exactly what that is. Otherwise, it's very difficult. Sometimes we might think it is, and turns out not to be, or so many things. But, you know, if in our heart we genuinely are desiring to surrender to the Lord, then somehow or other Krishna will help us do it, you know. Take a time. It's a process.
Yeah.
You know, Prabhupada refers to the surrendering process. You know, it might take time to become fully surrendered, but you know, surrender is an ongoing practice, a theme you can practice in the heart.
Mahatma Das said, anything that happens to you is only a manifestation of Krishna's love. And then he said surrender is another word for love. Actual Sanskrit means take shelter.
Nice. Yeah. Hare Krishna. Yeah, because without it, what are we doing? We're, you know, stepping away from Krishna to try to do our own little project. Yeah. So, yeah. Hare Krishna.
Yeah. What about if we refer to, we have a false sense of independence? That's what he said.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, if we're not aware of it, then it seems very real. Yeah. Really feel independent or alone, even. Yeah. Hare Krishna. Yes, just a matter of like hearing, having the higher knowledge, and applying it. You know, but we have to surrender to it. You know, the knowledge Prabhupada's given, because it's beyond our own, you know, even our own experience in the material world. Yeah. Hare Krishna. Well, all right then. I won't go dragging it on and on. Thank you so much for tuning in. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Vancha kalpa tarubhyascha kripa sindhubhya eva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Anantakoti Vaishnav Vrinda ki jai. Alright, thank you for coming. Thanks for coming, Prabhuji. It's always a pleasure having you. And thanks for tuning in online. Krishna willing, we'll be here tomorrow at our regular time. Hare Krishna.